Good evening. Welcome to the State of Business on our television with me, Tirantha Gunawardana. Let's take a look at today's top stories first. Report on Terrorism Act will be made available to all, says President. And the United Nations pledges support to President Sirisena in fight against terrorism. In your top story today, President Maithripala Sirisena says that after receiving the report of the three-member committee appointed to investigate the causes and background of the terrorist attacks, the content of the report will be open to all parties. President Sirisena made these remarks during a meeting held with the senior security officers, including the newly appointed Secretary of Defence General Shantha Kottegoda at the Ministry of Defence yesterday. The issues discussed included ensuring the security of schools by carrying out a proper security program, as well as conducting daily duties of the government officers in a normal manner. During the meeting, the progress of the operation to apprehend those responsible for the Easter Sunday terror attacks was reviewed. The new Secretary of Defence, General Kottegoda, said that President Sirisena will give his maximum energy to eradicate terrorism and to establish a stable country with assured national security. State Minister of Defence Ruwan Wijewardena, Secretary to the President Udaya Seneviratne, Advisor to the Defence Ministry, former IGP N.K. Lanka, and senior officials of the Defence Ministry were also present at this occasion. The United Nations Under-Secretary General for Alliance of Civilizations, Miguel Angel Moratinos, conveyed congratulations to President Maithripala Sirisena for taking swift action to control the situation following the Easter Sunday terror attacks. Moratinos, former Minister of Foreign Affairs and Cooperation of Spain, has arrived in Sri Lanka as a special representative of the UNSC and called on President Sirisena at the President's office yesterday. The UN Under-Secretary General praised the President's efforts and said that the international community is solidly behind these efforts to eliminate the Islamist terror. He said that the UNSC would send a team of counterterrorism experts to assist the Sri Lankan military officers by providing expertise and know-how. Moratinos, a former president of the United Nations Security Council, said that his country Spain too came under a terrorist attack by Al-Qaeda terrorists in 2004 and added that both Spain and Sri Lanka are peaceful, friendly countries, hospitable to tourists, and expressed dismay at such countries becoming targets of terrorists. The 69th annual report of the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka was presented to Minister of Finance Mangala Samaraweera by Dr. Indrajit Kumaraswamy, the Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, recently. Fiscal operations during 2018 demonstrated some improvements with a higher primary surplus and a lower budget deficit, notwithstanding the decline in revenue mobilization. The government revenue declined to 13.3% of GDP in 2018, while expenditure and net lending declined, particularly due to lower public investment, which was affected by political tensions that prevailed towards the end of the year, resulting in delays in the implementation of budgetary operations. The primary balance, which mirrors the difference between the government revenue and non-interest expenditure, registered a surplus of 0.6% of GDP in 2018 compared to the surplus of 0.02% of GDP in 2017. The budget deficit declined to 5.3% of GDP in 2018 from 5.5% of GDP in 2017 as a result of the substantial reduction in capital expenditure. The outstanding central government debt increased to 82.9% of GDP at the end of 2018 from 76.9% at the end of 2017. The financial sector continued to expand in 2018, supported by moderate but stable growth of the banking sector. However, the profitability of the banking sector declined during the year, mainly due to some deterioration in the asset quality, a rise in operating costs, and higher taxes. The central bank strengthened the prudential policy measures, including the implementation of Basel III requirements and the adoption of Sri Lanka accounting standards SLFRS 9 during the year. Meanwhile, the licensed finance companies and specialized leasing companies sector also recorded moderate growth amidst a challenging environment, and the central bank took measures to resolve distressed finance companies and to address the lingering concerns in the sector. The Colombo Stock Exchange recorded yet another year of poor performance due to the adverse developments on domestic and global fronts, which affected investor sentiments. It's time for us to go in for a short commercial break. Do stay tuned for more news after this. Welcome back. Minister of Power, Energy and Business Development Ravi Karunanayake has issued instructions for security to be tightened around all power stations and relevant departments in lieu of the current situation in the country. Based on instructions issued by the minister, security forces have been deployed at all power stations, substations and all other divisional stations and customer centres of the Ceylon Electricity Board to ensure an uninterrupted power supply for the country. Mr. Karunanayake has also requested the assistance of the public to be vigilant in order to help ensure the safety of CEB installations in order to help provide an uninterrupted power supply. New Auditor General Shulanta Vikramaratne says that internationally recognized new auditing methodologies would be adopted at the National Audit Office in the future. Vikramaratne said that the Auditor General's department hopes to give more focus on forensic audits and performance audits in the coming days. He also highlighted the need to update the computer technology being used in the National Audit Office by strengthening the institution with up-to-date technology and trained staff. Speaker Karu Jayasuriya also conveyed his congratulations to the new Auditor General and observed that the Parliament of Sri Lanka and the AG's office has maintained a close relationship over the past 4 years, and that with the continued support of the AG's office, the COPE and COPA committees will be able to continue to curb wastage and corruption of public funds. The government has taken proactive measures to address much of its major external debt obligations for 2019, despite the possible negative impact for the Sri Lankan economy owing to the recent Easter Sunday attacks in Sri Lanka, says Finance Minister Mangala Samaraweera. Minister Samaraweera said the government has taken measures to address the challenging debt repayments in 2019. Accordingly, the external financing objectives were front-loaded, enabling the government to raise $2.4 billion at favorable rates in March. He further stated that the Sri Lankan government has successfully met much of its major external debt obligations in 2019, including sovereign bond repayments in January amounting to $1 billion and $500 million in April, thus eliminating another key economic risk in the short term. And that's all the news we have for you today. Do join us tomorrow at the same time for more of the very latest. Until then, take care. Good night.